On the morning of January 15, 1947, a mother walking with her child in the Leimert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles made a gruesome discovery. At first, she thought she was looking at a mannequin, discarded in a vacant lot. But as she got closer, the horrifying reality set in. It was the body of a young woman, severed in half at the waist, drained of all blood, and meticulously cleaned. Her face was slashed from the corners of her mouth to her ears, creating a grotesque, permanent smile, known as a Glasgow smile. This was the beginning of one of America's most infamous and enduring unsolved mysteries, the murder of the Black Dahlia. The victim was soon identified as 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, an aspiring actress with captivating dark hair and a penchant for black clothing, which earned her the nickname the Black Dahlia from the press. She was a beautiful, but somewhat enigmatic figure who had drifted from her home in Massachusetts to Hollywood, chasing dreams of stardom like so many others. She worked odd jobs, mostly as a waitress, and moved frequently, leaving a trail of acquaintances but few close friends. Her life was a patchwork of brief encounters and fleeting hopes, making the investigation into her death incredibly complex from the very start. The brutality of the crime sent shockwaves through post-war Los Angeles. The media frenzy was immediate and intense. Newspapers, locked in a circulation war, sensationalized every detail, publishing lurid stories about Short's supposed promiscuous lifestyle, painting her as a cautionary tale of a girl lost in the big city. This relentless, often inaccurate reporting complicated the police investigation, creating a fog of misinformation and public hysteria. The Los Angeles Police Department, or LAPD, was under immense pressure to solve the case, and they launched one of the largest manhunts in the city's history. Investigators interviewed hundreds of people, from Hollywood bigwigs to drifters and small-time criminals. The list of potential suspects grew to an overwhelming size. Dozens of people, mostly men, came forward to confess to the crime. Over 60 confessions were received in total, but each one was eventually dismissed by police as false, likely from individuals seeking their moment in the spotlight or struggling with mental health issues. The sheer volume of false leads and confessions only served to bury the real killer deeper in anonymity. One of the most bizarre twists in the case came about a week after the discovery of the body. The editor of the Los Angeles Examiner received a phone call from someone claiming to be the killer. The caller said he was worried the police weren't taking the investigation seriously and that he would mail some of Elizabeth Short's belongings to the newspaper to prove he was the one. True to his word, a package arrived. Inside were Elizabeth Short's birth certificate, social security card, photographs, and an address book with the name Mark Hansen on the cover. The items had been wiped clean with gasoline, destroying any potential fingerprints. This package initiated a new wave of investigation. The address book led police to Mark Hansen, a nightclub and movie theater owner. Short had briefly lived in a room at his home with several other young women. Hansen became a prime suspect, but he was eventually cleared. However, the address book itself was another puzzle. Some names were missing, with pages torn out. Was this a deliberate act by the killer to remove their own name, or someone else they wanted to protect? We may never know. The letters from the supposed killer didn't stop there. A series of taunting, cut and paste notes made from newspaper and magazine clippings were sent to the police and the press. They were filled with cryptic messages, mocking the police for their inability to catch him. One note read, "Here it is. Turning in wed, January 29th, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police. Black Dahlia Avenger, but the promised surrender never happened. It was just another dead end, another cruel game played by a shadowy figure." Over the years, the list of potential suspects became a who's who of mid-century Los Angeles. There was George Hodel, a prominent physician with a high IQ and a dark side. His own son, a retired LAPD homicide detective named Steve Hodel, later wrote a book accusing his father of being the Black Dahlia killer. He presented compelling circumstantial evidence, including a photo album with a picture of a woman who looked strikingly like Elizabeth Short and handwriting samples that seemed to match the killer's notes. He even claimed to have found receipts for concrete bags, suggesting his father may have used them to transport the body. But George Hodel was never officially charged and died in 1999, taking his secrets with him. Another suspect was Leslie Dillon, a bellhop and aspiring writer who seemed to know intimate details about the crime that hadn't been released to the public. He became the focus of a secret police investigation, but the evidence was never strong enough to lead to an arrest. There were also theories involving other figures like Woody Guthrie, the famous folk singer, and even Orson Welles, the legendary filmmaker, due to the theatrical nature of the crime, but these connections were tenuous at best. The investigation was plagued by problems. Forensic science in the 1940s was nothing like it is today. Evidence was mishandled, and the crime scene itself was trampled by dozens of reporters and onlookers before it could be properly secured. The LAPD of that era was also notoriously corrupt, leading to speculation that the killer might have been someone with connections, someone powerful enough to make evidence disappear or intimidate witnesses into silence. As decades passed, the case file grew thicker, but a definitive answer remained elusive. The Black Dahlia murder became more than just a crime. It morphed into a piece of dark American folklore. It has inspired countless books, movies, and TV shows, each offering its own theory, its own version of the truth. The story taps into our deepest fears about the darkness that can hide behind a glamorous facade, the vulnerability of those who chase dreams, and the chilling possibility that a monster could walk among us, commit a terrible act, and simply vanish. Why does this case still captivate us more than 75 years later? Perhaps it's the stark contrast between Elizabeth Short's youthful beauty and the horrific violence inflicted upon her. Maybe it's the haunting image of that Glasgow smile, a final, cruel signature left by the killer. Or perhaps it's the endless puzzle of it all, the missing pieces, the false leads, the suspects who took their stories to the grave. The Black Dahlia case is the ultimate cold case, a mystery sealed in time. The tragedy of Elizabeth Short is not just that she was murdered, but that in death, her identity was largely consumed by the spectacle of her killing. She became a symbol, a headline, a ghost story. But she was a real person, a daughter, a young woman with hopes and fears, who came to the City of Angels and met a devil. Her killer not only took her life, but also robbed her of her story, replacing it with a gruesome legend. To this day, the Los Angeles Police Department still receives tips about the Black Dahlia case. Amateur sleuths and professional investigators continue to pore over the old files, hoping to find the one clue that everyone else missed. But with each passing year, the trail grows colder, and the chances of ever knowing for certain who killed Elizabeth Short become slimmer. Her murder remains a chilling, open wound in the history of Los Angeles, a testament to the fact that some mysteries are so dark they may never be brought to light. Thank you for watching. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown. We'll see you in the next video.